Phillies are the first team to 60 wins across Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber has returned back to continue his strength as the leadoff home run hitter. And we've got some exceptional pitching from the pitching staff. We're talking about all that and more today on PHLY Phillies podcast, coming soon. The Phillies were the first team to, I believe, 20 wins, 30 wins, and it has continued all the way up now to 60 wins. First across Major League Baseball with 60 wins and a big win over the Dodgers with now a chance to sweep the series Thursday night. Welcome to PHLY Phillies podcast. I've got Brenna Haupt, our producer today, John Foley in studio with me, and myself, Renee Washington, as we are previewing, recapping, and talking all about the excitement of the Phillies. We'll talk through the numbers of last night, the exceptional performance by Cristopher Sánchez, Matt Strom, Jeff Hoffman. We've got to get into Kyle Schwarber. Plus, we're going to look ahead to tonight's matchup as well. Lots of exciting things, but first things first, John, 60 wins. You were there at the game last night. Ballpark was, as always, a sellout crowd, great turnout, great vibes, and a good 4-3 win for the Phillies over the Dodgers.
Yeah, a fantastic win over the Dodgers. You know, I'm glad the Phillies finally got some wins that count. You know, I think it was really it's been electric all season down at Citizens Bank Park, but I really think this Dodger series is taking it to a new level. Definitely felt like a postseason atmosphere last night at the ballpark. Anybody who was there could vouch for that. And yeah, it's terrific because this is a team that you're likely going to see again.
Yeah.
In more important moments. So it's nice to send them a message and let them know that this team is a force. It's a force to be reckoned with.
That's the thing. I feel like I heard from a number of people, and you could get that vibe from watching the game, even on TV. It does feel like a playoff type of a game. And I love the fact that the Phillies, with all of the eyes around the league on them, have continued to show, you know, it's a 10-1 win Tuesday night. It's a 4-3 win Wednesday night. And even though the narrative can continue to be changed for the Phillies, as always, first it was they're not beating teams over 500. Then it was, you know, they're healthy and other teams are injured. And now it's still the fact that the poor Dodgers are injured. Meanwhile, the Phillies were without Bryce Harper last night. They're still without JT Realmuto. You know, injuries in July affect everybody. Exactly. Nobody is exempt from that.
Nobody's exempt. That's exactly right. And, you know, it really feels like the rest of the league is running out of excuses. You look at first it was the record against teams above 500, right? Now they've got the best record in baseball for teams against over 500 teams. You know, this team has injuries, that team has injuries. The Phillies been playing without Harper, Schwarber, Realmuto. They lost Trey Turner for I don't even know how many games. What else? What else do they have to do to really convince the general public who are not Phillies fans that this is an actual really special team? And you know what? If they don't believe it by now, that's fine. Yeah. Just go get that championship, and there won't be anything left to say.
That's exactly it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that people are going to look to try to hold against the Phillies, because ultimately, and even as we see, I made the comment on the show yesterday, when it's not a local broadcast, you're always getting the comments from the ESPN broadcast, the Apple TV broadcast, whatever broadcast, that really doesn't give the Phillies the credit that they deserve. And last night we saw that again. It's fine. Continue to discredit the Phillies. Continue to act like this league is the Dodgers. And we know the Dodgers, the Orioles, the Yankees. These are teams that absolutely are top in the league, but the Phillies are there. The Braves, same thing. So love the fact that the Phillies continue to just move along regardless of what's thrown their way. They continue to win games. In the chat, I want to give a shout out. Chris Lemmer, you are back number one. You took that number one spot again. Frank Barber had it yesterday. Frank, what's up? I see you in the chat, as well as Al Capper, Linda, Provolone John, K-Red, John Peace, everybody in the chat on YouTube. or tuned in on Twitter. Listen, it's great times right now in Philly as we're talking through the Phillies. And I know you guys are already bringing the hot takes in the chat around Jose Alvarado, Gregory Soto, Tim from the broadcast yesterday. But listen, this group as a whole has been clicking on all cylinders. As you mentioned, John, the success that they've had against teams over 500. They are 22-13 against teams over 500. And that is the highest winning percentage of a .629 winning percentage across Major League Baseball. They've had injuries. It was Trey Turner out for 6 weeks. It's been JT out. It was Bryce and Kyle out. Bryce out again last night, and they continue to win. So Wednesday night, another win. We see them go out there, and it wasn't the high exploding offense that we've been seeing. We've been seeing them score 5 or more runs pretty much on average. Last night, it was more of the pitching that we saw. And off the bat, Cristopher Sánchez, a phenomenal night for Sanchi, as they call him, to go out there against the Dodgers, his first time ever getting a career start versus them. And when you look at the growth of Cristopher Sánchez from last year, how shaky he was, how he was just trying to find his way. Now he's an everyday starter. Now he's that number 4 spot. And also showing he's deserving of being possibly even an all-star. If needed, if something changes, maybe Zach Wheeler can't pitch or something changes, Cristopher Sánchez is right there to show he is absolutely on an all-star level. And I thought last night was the chance with a lot of eyes on them to be able to showcase what he can do. We've been seeing it every day when he starts, even with the ups and downs of this season. And last night, Cristopher Sánchez was phenomenal against the Dodgers and also just looked very comfortable. Wasn't rattled, gave up a run in the 4th, a run in the 5th, wasn't rattled, got in and out of his performance very steady, which you love to see from Sanchi.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been amazing to follow Cristopher Sanchez's career path. I mean, up and down in the minors, thought of as a back of the rotation starter, which I guess he is on this team. Yeah. But for a lot of teams around the league, he'd be one of their frontline guys, and it's incredible. He certainly could be an all-star. Yeah. Maybe should have been. It's tough, and the Phillies are already sending so many players. But he has the numbers. He could have easily been there. Maybe something will happen, and he gets named as a substitute. But he certainly deserves it. And it's credit to him. Like you said, Renee, he doesn't get rattled when he gives up a run. Just comes right back out there and takes care of business. He's been incredible. I mean, what more can you ask for from a guy who you expected to come in as your number 4, number 5, and here he is on the cusp of an all-star season. Yeah. I mean, coming into yesterday, we had talked about the success of Cristopher Sánchez. Obviously, he got the contract extension. He was named June NL Pitcher of the Month. He came into last night with a 6.4 record, a 2.96 ERA, and his 17 starts. That was prior to the all-star rosters announced on Sunday. He's had a phenomenal season. In June alone, he had the 1.64 ERA, went 3-0 on the month, and had his first shutout complete game of his career. And then yesterday, you saw him allow 5 hits on the day, 2 runs, 1 walk, and struck out 5 in his 6 innings. And so it was great to see, because I think one of the biggest things I like about this team is, regardless of what the narratives, the accolades, the honors, anything else that's around the Phillies, they do a good job of kind of quieting the noise. Yeah. And yes, you can honestly say Sanchi was in a way snubbed, which is wild to think about, because the Phillies have 7 All-Stars, which is a record for the franchise, and 4 of those are pitchers, which is a record across Major League Baseball. It hasn't happened. I mean, 8 times in Major League Baseball history that we've had 4 pitchers from one club. So it's weird to even say snubbed, but his numbers show he could be there. Yeah. And yet he went out against one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, and instead of allowing it to change his pitching, affect him in any way, you saw Sanchez go out Wednesday night. His velocity was there. He's had 0 home runs allowed at home, which is insane at Citizens Bank Park to be that dominant when you are facing other opponents. And also, you go up against Shohei Ohtani, who starts off, hits a single, and then you strike out and you retire the next 9 in a row. I mean, for Sanchez to be so composed and so steady and so consistent, the exit velocity, I know they did the graphic. Well, you weren't on the broadcast because you were at the game. Last night, for those of us watching on TV, they had the graphic that they showed during the game of Cristopher Sanchez's exit velocity compared to other pitchers. And for the other pitchers, they're not doing a good job of keeping pitches down.
Whereas Cristopher Sanchez is providing predictable pitches. When he does give up a hit, it's a driven ball. It's low. It's to center field typically. It's not as high of an exit velocity, which allows his teammates to be able to read and anticipate where it's going, get there, make the catch, and make the play. So he's even making it predictable for his teammates when he does give up hits. His changeball, his fastball, it's tough to hit. And that's your fourth starter.
That's your fourth starter. Yeah. I mean, it sounds, every word we're saying sounds like we're describing the ace of a staff.
Yeah.
And this is your fourth starter. And yeah, you're exactly right, Renee. Keeping the ball down leads to a lot of double plays. Fantastic ground ball percentage. And that's a good place to be, especially pitching at Citizens Bank Park. I don't think it's the hitter's park that has the reputation for it, but you do want to keep the ball down. It can get out of there. And he's doing it. And I think he adopts the mindset that the rest of the team has, which is, the confidence of these guys, I think, feeds off each other in terms of, there's no reason to panic. If you allow a leadoff base runner or allow a run, you can have faith that your guys are going to pick you up, that the offense is going to score some runs, that the defense is going to make some plays. And I think that's what really helps him maintain his composure.
Yeah, exactly. The composure is there. This team does not allow any of the discussions or questions or anything outside of their clubhouse to really affect them. Injuries, not a problem. All-star versus not all-star, because there's both sides of it. You look at someone like Cristopher Sanchez, and he easily could have said, I'm frustrated I didn't make the all-star. I'm not an all-star pitcher. Woe is me, boo-hoo, and go out there and just fall apart against the Dodgers, but instead came out and was lights out. But it's the same thing on the other side. Somebody like Matt Strahm and Jeff Hoffman, who get the nod for the all-star. Jeff Hoffman, who was brought into this team as someone that was originally just brought in to help Bryce Harper return back from injury as a practice pitcher. You're just out there throwing meaningless pitches to Bryce Harper to help him work back, and the Phillies saw something in him, loved the way he was pitching, bring him in, and now here you are, fast forward this season, an all-star. Matt Strahm, another one. Like, their road to this point has been very unconventional. It's a lot of underrated underdogs that have come in and been exceptional, and Jeff and Matt getting the all-star nod could have come out yesterday and been like, I'm an all-star. I don't have to do much. Nope. Go out there. You see Matt Strahm retire Shohei Ohtani. You see Jeff Hoffman close out the game and help them win that game, help them get to 60 wins. So on both sides, they're not complacent. And that's what you enjoy about not only the pitching staff, but this team as a whole.
Absolutely. Just a group of professional guys. They've got exactly one goal in mind. They know anything short of a World Series championship this year is I hate to say failure, because they've been a fantastic team. But that's the expectation this year. That's the only goal they have in mind. The whole team is focused on it. And they're not worried about all-star snubs. They're not worried about resting on their laurels. The ones who did make the all-star team, Matt Strahm coming out, you mentioned the strikeout against Ohtani. Just electric. I think it was first and third, 1 out. Strike out Ohtani and then get a fly ball to preserve the lead. That's amazing stuff from Matt Strahm right there against the best player in the universe.
Oh yeah,
Shohei Ohtani.
Oh yeah, Mr. Baseball himself. You go out there with the game in a spot that easily could have swung, and Matt Strahm was very composed in that moment as well. Like, that's been the biggest key of this team. I keep using the word composure, but when you really think about it, these are moments that are defining moments. Your character, your everything's on the line, and it could go one way or the other. And for Matt Strahm to come in last night and pitch 2/3 of an inning, and in that, you don't give up anything, as you mentioned, that major strikeouts. You've got a 1.56 ERA, and you are able to showcase why you are an all-star in that moment. With all the loud fans, it got noisy there. I mean, you were at Citizens Bank Park, as you mentioned. It was rocking. It was loud. It was a great chance at home to really put this team in a position to showcase what they're all about. And I thought for last night, and we didn't even get into the hitting side yet, we're just talking pitching. I really thought last night for the pitching staff as a whole, despite those of you in the chat saying like Alvarado and Soto have to go or whatever your concerns are, this is one of the best pitching staffs across Major League Baseball. And I felt like last night, I tweeted it out, was their chance to remind people why this bullpen. You had Orion, Matt, Jeff, Jose, who went out there and showed the bullpen, but also then, of course, Sanchez, starting, why they're the elite and one of the best across the league.
Yeah, and you don't have to take it from us. You don't have to worry about, hometown bias. The numbers just show it. It's the best ERA in Major League Baseball, I think, by a not insignificant margin. Best starters ERA, relievers, I think, within the top 5. It's an incredible collection of players, and it's amazing to keep seeing them do what they do. Like you said, Renee, it seems like a little bit of a showcase. The series against the Dodgers. It's pretty fun to have a team like the Dodgers come in here with all their star power up against the Phillies and their star power. Now they've won 2 out of 3 already and are well positioned for a sweep on this third game. So, I'm seeing some mic comments. So I'm trying.
Oh boy. You're always a low speaker. The boss is like, turn your mic up.
So I got the hoagie mouth and my gentle voice.
There it is. That's all. You are a low speaker. It's funny. But as you are mentioning, like, it is great just in general to see. It felt like a showcase last night. That was a great opportunity for two of the best teams across Major League Baseball to go at it. And right now we're looking at the Phillies getting ready to possibly sweep the Dodgers. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. As Jamie and I were talking through it, this was a series that was circled on the calendar as the one of the biggest tests for this team.
Right.
You're coming off of, a major series against the Cubs, the Braves. You're going up against the Dodgers. This was, of course, before we even knew health-wise what either team was going to look like. Strictly looking on paper, strictly looking at the projections for these teams, we thought coming in, and we knew coming in, this was going to be a major series that had a lot of eyeballs on it and a lot of pressure on it. And yet here we are now, 2-0. First 2 games and a 10-1 win, and then back that up with a 4-3 win. That was more of a pitcher's duel of, you needed to rely on your bullpen to get you out of some tough situations, and they delivered. This is what makes this group so great, in the sense that, like, no pressure. We're going to go into this and show you exactly, how we mean business.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we've talked about a lot on the show about how they can beat you in so many different ways. Game 1, they drop 10 runs on your head.
Yep.
And then game 2, a close game. You need some nice pitching performances, some Houdini acts. That's exactly what Matt Strahm gives you. And now you're set up. You got Nola on the mound tonight. Pretty big. The Phillies are pretty big favorites according to the sports books.
Yeah.
And if they can close this out, what a great statement to make before the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a great chance for this team to continue to just show that it's not a fluke. It's not a mistake. What they're doing is legitimate. And I know in the chat, there's already mention about like what the NLCS preview is going to look like. I'm seeing Phillies Brewers is what Steven Garrison is predicting. You think that's going to be an NLCS matchup? This very well could be a postseason matchup that we see. Who knows? There's a lot of baseball left to play by then, and a lot can change before then. But you know where you can go to make sure to change all of your dietary choices and make sure you're drinking some refreshing beverages and lots of products that they have. That's our friends over at Rite Aid. So let me tell you about our friends at Rite Aid. Rite Aid's got some beverages, a line of beverages that are familiar, family favorites that are revitalizing, better for you options, and they're exclusively at Rite Aid. Rite Aid has products such as their waters, or water as we call them here, that's purified spring electrolyte, distilled and alkaline bottled water. They've got flavored waters as well. They also have coconut water for you, which boasts a power-packed array of essential nutrients. I love coconut water. I love sprinkling it in. I actually mix it with some lemon juice. I've got a whole concoction that I make. It's very good for you. Coconut water is fat-free, gluten-free. It's non-GMO. It's got less than 1% sugar, and it's just great to hydrate you. They also have some single-serve iced teas and lemonades because in the summertime, who doesn't love a nice ice-cold lemonade or iced tea with some ice cubes in it? They've got that sweetened with real sugar iced tea, no preservatives, but they also have different juices for you. Some cold-pressed juices that are crafted from 100% fruits and vegetables. They're organic, they're non-GMO. They're also very good if you need plenty of nutrients because they have no added sugars, preservatives, or artificial flavors, but they also are packaged in some great bottles and provide you with all the fruits and vegetables that you need with those friendly glass, eco-friendly at that, glass bottles, which are reducing plastic waste. Plus, they've got other juices, pineapple juices, cranberry apple, strawberry lemonade, tons of organic options available as well. So over at Rite Aid, in addition to all the great products, over-the-counter medications, the sunscreen, the last-minute gift wrap and things you may need, they also have some refreshing, healthy drinks for you as well. They brought them by our offices for us to check out. They were delicious, refreshing water. I always keep a nice bottle of this actually is not coconut water. I wish it was. I keep a nice bottle of water myself because in this time of year, you got to make sure you're staying hydrated so you can enjoy being out at the ballpark. It's been hot outside. We're in the middle of an excessive heat warning, and you can head over to Rite Aid, get some refreshing drinks. They're coconut water. They're different drinks to help you stay hydrated so you can enjoy all of the heat. So it's important to stay hydrated, especially during these summer months. Get those refreshments even delivered. Rite Aid is able to deliver to your front door. You can shop online at riteaid.com/shop for same-day delivery. We love convenience of it coming the same day. You can buy online, you can pick up in store, and check out their refreshery products over at Rite Aid. And while we're at it, let me also make sure to tell you about, as John mentioned, the sports book, because today, as you're looking to maybe place some bets yourself, you can do so at BetPark Sportsbook. We are actually brought to you by the BetParks app, and you can get in the zone with the BetPark Sportsbook app. You've got all the opportunities to take advantage of what's coming up because you can take this opportunity to get involved with your favorite lines, your underdogs. I know on our Eagles show, Jamie and Zach are going to be doing some fantasy football today. If you want to get all the ins and outs of anything on the BetPark Sportsbook, you can do so today by downloading the app and playing along with us. You can win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win, and you bet. So win big with all-day action. Get in on all the moments by downloading the app, playing along with us. Of course, you've got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER today and take advantage of all the opportunities at BetPark Sportsbook. I think there's some great bets out there for the Phillies, John, because right now, you got to place those bets if you haven't already. I wish I'd placed a bet preseason before things even had started during spring training because you really would cash out if you had placed any bets on the Phillies, MVP, any Cy Young. There's a lot out there for you to place. So check out the BetPark Sportsbook today. All right, let's get back into the fun of last night because I see in the chat we're already talking about some other teams, some other players. Listen, last night was a great opportunity again for the pitching to showcase themselves, but also we saw on the other side, Kyle Schwarber starts things off the right way. I know Rob Thompson was interviewed during the game and mentioned how they have this 1-0, we're up 1-0 whenever Kyle Schwarber takes the mound for the leadoff because they have in their mind Kyle's going to deliver them a run from the opening gates. And rightfully so, because you look at the numbers of Kyle Schwarber, remarkable. Last night, he hits his 18th home run of the season, his 8th leadoff home run of the season. That was his 600th career RBI. And he, as they talk about, gives the team energy, gets them going from the jump. To have the hot start that they always typically do, I won't say always, but usually do, Kyle Schwarber is a big reason behind that. His second game back from his groin injury, 3 RBIs in 2 games, and now continues to start things off the right way with that opposite field home run that we saw. And also, as Sarah Langs was pointing out for that home run, it was in a position. The leadoff home run he hit was on a pitch that was 0.98 feet from the center of the plate, the 5th furthest outside pitch he's homered off of, including the playoffs. Kyle Schwarber, I feel like it's a quiet thing because I don't think we even talk about him or give him as much credit as we should. But he has continued to show, A, why he's great as the leadoff, and B, why he's such a big part of this team, especially in his return.
Yeah, absolutely. I was skeptical of Schwarber in the leadoff spot, a little bit old school in that respect. In terms of a team, I just thought, you have Trey Turner, more of a prototypical leadoff guy. How are you going to have this big home run hitter leading off? But it works, and you see it on nights like last night, where he just immediately jumps on the pitcher, and the Phillies have a 1-0 lead.
Yeah.
And you've heard some pitchers talk about how it's just like a dagger to right off the bat go down 1-0 like that. And then that's not all he offers out of the leadoff position either. He, his on base percentage is fantastic. The new slim down version of him seems to. He's not Trey Turner on the base paths, but he's not clogging up those base paths either. He can go first to third on a single, and he's pretty fast for his size. So I've really come around pretty much 180 on Schwarber as a leadoff hitter. Very much willing to admit when I'm wrong, and was wrong about that because he's been fantastic.
I think a lot of people are, and for anybody, it's okay to admit. Let us know in the chat. This is a safe space. We'll make this our Phillies confessional. If you at some point did not want Kyle in the leadoff, we've all at some point, I think, said it. I know we talked about it a lot on the show, especially in the offseason. Should they tinker with somebody else, Trey Turner, Bryson Stott in leadoff versus Kyle Schwarber, because of his speed was a big issue of him. Mm-hmm. He gets on base, and a lot of times you would see Trey Turner or someone catching him almost because he was so slow. Yeah, and it's like, come on. So I know one of the issues was like with how slow he's been, he should not be at leadoff. And I know K-Red, appreciate the listen, again, safe space. We all make mistakes.
We're all friends.
K-Red's like, yep, I was wrong. A lot of us were. For Kyle Schwarber, though, to be able, as John Peace is bringing up a great point, the Phils are 22-4 when Schwarber leads off with a home run for them. A big part of the success of this season has been the Phillies jumping out on opponents early. And as you mentioned, imagine you go into all this prep for a game. When you go as an athlete, and I can tell you myself, you go through so much, especially game day, your routine, your meals, your film, your talking, your game planning, you're warming up, the music's going, you're excited to go, and then boop, First pitch of the game, boom, ball's out of here.
Gone,
all that prep, it's like, damn, what did I do all that for? Yeah. To then find yourself chasing the game 1-0. And this team, with how well their pitching staff has been alone, once you go down, it's hard to come back. It's this team, and I don't have the number in front of me, but they haven't given up a lot of leads.
No.
And it's been hard to come back when you do go down against the Phillies. So for Kyle Schwarber, I know it was tweeted out that he's got a lot of history that he's in the mix of. So the history for the most leadoff home runs in a season as a Philly, 2022, Kyle Schwarber had 7. 2024, Kyle Schwarber with 8. In 2007, it was J-Roll with 9. And then 2023 was Kyle Schwarber with 11. He is literally dominating for Phillies history of most leadoff home runs. The single season record across Major League Baseball, 2003, Alfonso Soriano with 13. So Kyle Schwarber continues to put himself in some great company with the amount of leadoff home runs he's hit. And as we keep talking about, it's such a boost for this team when you have the ability to jump on pitchers, rattle them from the very first pitch, and take the lead. And now you're excited. It's contagious. It goes through the entire team. That energy is contagious of the bullpen, the dugout, the fans, us watching at home. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's game time because Kyle's at the plate and he hit a home run.
It's just electric. And, it's not just the leadoff home runs either. The bottom of the order has been doing a pretty good job lately of getting on base in front of Schwarber as he circles back to the number 1 spot. I think in the opening game against the Dodgers, before the Phillies really blew it open, the first run scored, I think, we're on Schwarber driving in runners from second and third. I think that's the game where the 7, 8, 9 hitters went something like 7 for 9. And if you're going to do that at the bottom of the lineup in front of Kyle Schwarber and give him some runners to drive in, and then after that happens, you've got to deal with the heart of the Phillies order. It's a tough team to beat. And like you said, Renee, if they jump on you and they're ahead, it's really tough to come back because you've just got some horses in that bullpen with ERAs 1.3, 1.5, Kerkering, Strom, just the whole group. It's really, really tough to mount a comeback against this Philly squad.
It is, and as you mentioned, Tuesday night, I know I had pulled the numbers. It was 7 runs that were scored by the bottom of the order. Johan Rojas, Brandon Marsh, and Rafael Marchand contributed 7 hits, 3 RBIs, 1 walk, 1 K, and they scored 7 runs. And a big reason they scored those runs was that RBI that we saw for Kyle Schwarber, RBI double that he had. He literally adds that extra element that not only can he be great in the leadoff role, but a great point you bring up. If 7, 8, and 9 are hitting and getting on base, you've got speed there. You've got guys that we've seen the variety, as you talked about, that versatility, bunting, small ball, it's singles, doubles, triples. Alec Boehm had his first double last night. It's been so many different ways that they've been able to get hits. It's not just home run or bust. So now if you had the production from 7, 8, 9 with Kyle Schwarber coming behind them, that's how you end up winning 10-1 against the Dodgers on Tuesday night, because you're driving in runs, and the Dodgers had left, 12 guys stranded on Tuesday. The Phillies were great with runners in scoring position. You know, they did a phenomenal job with the 10 RBIs on the day of just, keeping the inning alive, capitalizing on the mistakes of the Dodgers, driving runners in, and Kyle Schwarber at the leadoff, following Brandon Marsh, who's been playing well, Johan, who we know is injured now, but will be back, hopefully, possibly. Rafael Marchand, whoever it is at the bottom of the order, Garrett Stubbs, whoever it is, if they get a hit, you can count on Kyle Schwarber to come behind them and really do a good job of getting them home.
Yeah, and then if pitchers want to pitch around Schwarber a little bit, good luck to them then. You go ahead. Yeah. He'll take the walk, among the league leaders in walks. He'll take the walk, and then we'll set it up. You got Trey Turner behind him. And if you want to get past Trey Turner, then you got Bryce Harper to deal with. Yeah. And then, boom, near the top of the league in RBIs. There's no breaks in the lineup when they're healthy. No breaks in the lineup. Great starting rotation, great bullpen. That's a good way to win a lot of games.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a recipe for success, to say
when
the
whole team is good.
We like that. We love to see the whole team good. That makes things a lot easier, to say the least. So it has been phenomenal to see the numbers that, different guys are putting up, and even the little things, like finding out that Cristopher Sánchez hasn't given up a home run at home, finding out that Matt Strahm hasn't given up a home run to a lefty, Kyle Schwarber with his leadoff numbers. Like, there are so many little nuggets of information that we don't even all realize are helping this team be successful, because now you can game plan for that. Okay, if it's Matt Strahm, you can go with the lefty-lefty matchup. If it's Kyle Schwarber, as a leadoff, he's going to help you get on the scoreboard first. Or come in, as you talk about later in the game, after 7, 8, 9 got a hit, got on base, to help get that production and get them home. So it's so many things that we're seeing from this group that it has really helped them just be successful. It's great. All right. Well, that being said, we've got to get into some talk about the future of this group. But first, let's talk about the future that you can have with the job hunting process, because it can be difficult out there trying to find a job. And if you're on the hunt, we've got a place for you that can help. That's our friends over at Indeed. With Indeed, they are driven by the search to find you better quality candidates, whether you're looking for a job or a job that's in the recruiting process. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. You don't have to worry about searching. You can worry about matching. And that's with Indeed. They want to match you with great candidates. They want to match you with great jobs. So whether you are looking for that job, and we've all been there at some point on the hunt for a job, I've used Indeed a lot over the course of my career to find a variety of different types of roles. They give you, whether it's a part-time job, full-time job, volunteer opportunities, but also giving you so many details and information as a job hunter. And that's why when you are, as a candidate, just like the person that's recruiting, you have so much information to look for with Indeed. It's very thorough. It gives you a great chance to communicate. And that's why Indeed makes it easy for those that are looking to hire. Because if you're looking to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed matches you with great candidates. They've got over 350 million global monthly visitors per month, 350 million plus people. That's insane. That's according to their data. And they are, as a matching engine, helping to find quality candidates. It's not just about quantity. It's about quality candidates that they're finding you pretty quickly. You can get rid of the busy work, get rid of the guessing work, get rid of the struggle of trying to find quality candidates, because with Indeed, they also provide you the chance to incorporate in the site scheduling, screening, messaging, so that you can connect with your candidates faster. You can directly have templates of messages. You can directly have the opportunity to schedule interviews through Indeed, all of that, which just simplifies the process. So they're helping you hire faster, but also hire simpler. 93% of employers have agreed that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. Again, I've used it on both sides, as someone that's hiring and as someone that's being hired and looking for a job. It is very thorough, it is very straightforward, and it is very simple to use. So today, for our listeners of the show, you can get $75 as a sponsored job credits to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCityDoc. You can use it today, Indeed.com/AllCity. Take advantage of that deal and now get support, get the chance to get quality candidates. I've been telling people about Indeed myself that aren't using it, and especially this great deal, and let them know that us at PHLY sent you. Again, that is Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions do apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. And then last but not least, we've got exciting things going on here as well that are happening at PHLY that you can take advantage of. We've got our Die Hard membership, of course. So anybody that's looking to check out our phenomenal articles, our Die Hard membership provides you a chance to get all of the articles that we're dropping. John's pieces, we've got Jim Salisbury, we've got Zach Berman, we've got Charlie. Everybody here is dropping great articles for you to be able to check out. And so you can get the latest as a Die Hard member. And then also as a Die Hard, you get perks such as discounts for any events. You get our merch when you sign up, so you get a free shirt. And then aside from that, we also have great events going on. So because we are already halfway through July, pretty much, which is wild to think about, means we are getting closer to the MLB trade deadline. We've got our MLB trade deadline show happening July 30th. The details for that will be on our website shortly, where you can sign up. We'll be at Bill Murphy's Irish Saloon July 30th from 5 to 7 p.m., where you can join us for a live show for the MLB trade deadline. You can be just as excited as Jamie is in that picture.
Look how happy he is. That's fantastic.
And be able to join us for the show, because we'll have as always, some drinks, Miller Lite drink specials for you. We'll be able to have some great food. We'll be able to talk through the trade deadline. So plenty of great things coming your way. And all those details are always on our website at AllPHLY that you can find the latest that we are doing at allphly.com. All right. So with that being said, though, let's progress, because we've got more to talk about as we prepare for what's next. Yes, I agree with you, K-Red. This season is going so fast that we are already at the draft. This week, we've got coming up the All-Star festivities. We've got the MLB draft, which the draft is not as exciting as other sports, I can say. And I will say that myself. Like, it's completely different, because as we know, the draft requires you looking ahead for the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
5 years away.
Yeah, so it's major projections. So with that, we're going to get into our Shady Rays. Where are my Shady Rays? There they are. Our Shady Rays, the future is bright segment. Let's put on our rose-colored glasses and explain to the people why the future is bright for the Phillies. This is brought to you by Shady Rays, where you can head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY at checkout for 35% off polarized sunglasses. So here's why the future is bright for the Phillies. They've got the draft coming up this Sunday. We had a chance to hear firsthand from the assistant GM, Brian Barber, who was talking through the process that they go through for the Phillies. And as he was talking yesterday, he was discussing how, it's very difficult when you're going through the draft, because exactly as we just alluded to, you're projecting where players are going to be. Someone like Orion Kirkering, he's like, we didn't know Orion would be ready for the majors that fast. Aiden Miller, we didn't know how he was going to turn out, and how Justin Crawford, different guys. So you don't know who you're drafting. You're drafting kids. You're drafting young. And it was very enlightening. I mean, I already kind of knew this, but it was reassuring to hear it again, of really their process, to how they go about planning for who they want to go after, who they're prospecting, and their process even to plan, knowing if you're later on in the draft, you don't know who's going to fall through. Like, ideally, you want to be 30th, as he was mentioning. That means you won the World Series. That means you're picking last. But anywhere in that bottom half, in general, you have no idea who's going to fall through the ranks. Yeah,
I know we mentioned that, they did not expect Aiden Miller to fall for them. Luckily, he did, and he's performing very well. But my big takeaway is that the organization does have a good plan, and it takes a while to get to a point where you feel comfortable that the organization is well run. For a long, long time, Phillies fans know that was not the case. You did not have confidence in the front office to do what they needed to do. Now they've sort of earned the benefit of the doubt. They've turned around the major league squad, tons of talent in the minor leagues, and you just get the feeling that they know what they're doing with the draft here too. It's, as you mentioned, Renee, a really, really tough task. You're comparing high school players and what was their level of competition. You've got college players out there. You can't really just put their numbers up against each other. And you really have to do some in-depth scouting. But you just get the feeling that the Phillies are sort of well run now. And it comes all the way from the top with Dombrowski and all the way down through player development and drafting. It's really a strange place to be for longtime Phillies fans, to have this just sort of confidence that the team's going to, they might not get everything right, but they've got a process, and they know what they're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a process. It's very difficult and different from most leagues because you look at other leagues, as soon as somebody gets drafted, you're initially trying to figure out, like a Jared McCain, for instance, gets drafted by the Sixers. You go straight into the summer league. You go straight into the team. The NFL, soccer, everything else, you are jumping right into the league. Whereas with baseball, of course, there's a process of going through the minor league system, the farm system, development is there. And as Brian Barber was mentioning, you also have a wide range of types of players. You have some players that have the resources of having like a pitching coach or something like that. And then you have others that might just be raw talent and maybe they don't have as much of an opportunity, resources, the money even to afford those types of things. But regardless, it's like, as he was mentioning, none of that directly correlates to success in the minor league system, let alone with the Phillies.
Right.
You have no idea how it's going to pan out. Now, the Phillies have done a good job of developing their talent. We see that even with the Phillies, as you bring in an Orion Kirkring, for instance, where they're able to elevate their game. Even Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strahm, like as we talk about the success of the Phillies, a big part of that is their development.
Yeah.
So for them, Brian Barber was just mentioning, essentially, you want to try to figure out who has the best chance of making it to the majors. It's not even a positional thing. And I think even that was different. Like a lot of teams, you're looking at, okay, if you're the Eagles, you might need a corner, you might need a linebacker. If you're the Sixers, you might need a shooting guard or a point guard or a backup center. For the Phillies, you're not even thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going into it like, we just want to get the best possible player.
Right, because you have no idea. I think Barbara made the point on the call that you have no idea what your needs are going to be 5 years from now. So, you know, it's not a great idea to try to project and draft for positions of need in the future. It's just because it's just so unpredictable.
It is. And that's even something like, I know a lot of times we will look at, oh, well, you've got someone like Alec Boehm who's young and locked in. I know it was mentioned by Linda in the chat earlier, like, I don't want to see Boehm at first base anymore, which I agree with. I actually prefer him at third base, but it is what it is. But, you know, okay, we've got Alec Boehm at third base. We don't need a third baseman. You don't know. You actually have no idea what the future is going to hold in terms of health, in terms of contracts. I know it was mentioned about, you know, someone like Kyle Schwarber and different guys who they still want to lock in for the future. You don't know how things are going to shake out. So there's no real way to plan for the future. And on the other side, you don't know which players are going to pan out or not. That's why we talk so much about the prospects with like a grain of salt, because given their numbers and success at the minor league level, AAA, AA, single A, you don't know how that's going to translate into the game. And we've seen so many players over the years that have been up and down, and they don't ever make it to the majors. Yeah,
it's very true, and it's a big reason why a lot of fans, I think, are ready to just ship off whatever prospects are necessary to bring in a final piece or two and get the championship this year, because, you know, we've seen a lot of prospects come through town that did not pan out at all or were traded away. I remember everybody lost their minds over Sixto Sanchez being traded for JG Realmuto, which is hilarious in retrospect, but at the time it was a tough decision. People were so high on Sixto, thought he might be an ace for a team for years, and, you know, it worked out. But it could have easily gone the other way.
Easily.
So again, it goes back to just having confidence in, you know, in the front office of the Phillies to be able to assess these players accurately and make the right call. And so far, more often than not, in the past few years, they've made the right call. Yeah. You mentioned Jeff Hoffman. I mean, he'd never had anything close to this level of success prior to joining the Phillies. I think the hitting and pitching coaches, Kevin Long and Caleb Cotham, have become actual draws, I think, for players that know that, you know, if they come here, they'll be working with some of the best coaching. You know, I think players like playing for Thompson. I think they know it's an organization. They can see from the way that the front office took care of Wheeler, Nola. They know it's an organization that if you come here and you perform well, you will be taken care of. It's a franchise that spends money, maybe not Dodgers money, but up there in like the top 5.
Normal money.
And and it's incredible how this is transformed to really just a well-run Phillies franchise with the ballpark packed every night. And I mean, wow, 5 years ago.
I know. And I know it was asked to Brian Barber if the success of the team today changes at all how they go into the draft. And he was saying, like, not really, because you really, again, like, this is a success right now, but these aren't players that you're drafting for right now. These are players you're drafting for 4 or 5 years from now. So, like, yes and no, it does take some of the pressure off. I think there are other teams out there that are in such a dumpster fire rebuild mode that you have to draft with a little bit more pressure of getting it correct, because you need these players to be ready maybe a little bit quicker. So it does and does not change things at the same time, in the sense that you're still planning for the future, but you might not have the same pressure as you would if the team was, bottom under 500 and struggling. So the draft this year is going to start this Sunday, and it goes through the 16th. Day 1 on Sunday, the 14th, is the first 2 rounds, as well as the first 2 supplemental rounds. And the second day is rounds 3 through 10. And then the third day is 11 through 20. You can watch, for those curious in the chat, you will be able to watch the draft on ESPN and MLB Network. And then it will be live streamed on MLB.com as well. I know our own Jamie Lynch has been also dropping some great prospect videos for you guys to check out. Some of the different prospects heading into the draft, to get to know them, to see. And he intentionally was targeting who the Phillies might be drafting at number 27. So it is the Cleveland Guardians that draft first, and the Reds, and then the Phillies are not until the 27th pick this year in 2024. But also something that I thought was really interesting as we are getting near to the draft is the fact that Dave Dombrowski did come out and was mentioning how he feels like the Phillies farm system does not get enough respect. Put some respect. He said it doesn't get the acclaim it should. And he was saying that because of the recent rankings that came out for prospects across Major League Baseball, he was saying the outlets have not been giving the Phillies farm system the respect that they deserve. And actually, I kind of agree. I know that there might not be the depth that some other teams have. And that's something that has been different. But it was mentioned how under John Middleton, the franchise has really been focusing on bringing in young talent. And in the past 5 or 6 years, they have sacrificed half draft picks after signing free agents who rejected qualifying offers, but more focused on, a wide variety of ways to bring in players. So essentially, give the Phillies farm system some respect.
Yeah, I remember in spring training when we had Preston Mattingly on the show.
Yes.
And one of the things he said, I think during the show and after, was just once a farm system gets sort of the tag of, okay, this is the 27th best farm system in the league, or individual players are sort of tagged as not your most sought after prospects, that it's very hard to change minds and opinions. And these guys are going out there, they're performing, they're playing great, they're developing. There's a lag between the performance and the talent level in the system coming through, and publications picking that up.
Yeah.
Because I think they start from a place where they look, all right, it's 27th last season. That's where you're going to start, unless we can find some really good reasons to bump you up. And those really good reasons are out there. Not every publication or ranking, internet ranking, whoever does these things is really picking up how much progress the Phillies have made. I think it'll be a little bit of time before sort of the accolades catch up with the actual work that they've done. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. It's going to take some time. And yes, I know in the chat, Elephant in the Room is saying the same thing. Like, the farm system is better than currently advertised. It's insane. So this year, though, there are 5 Phillies prospects that are in the top 100 list: Andrew Painter, and Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, Starlin Caba, and Mick Abel. Crawford was a first-round pick back in 2022. He's done well as a center fielder. We've had him on the show, as well as Aiden Miller. And right now he's sitting with a 309, 365, 434 average with 83 stolen bases in his first 3 seasons. Aiden Miller, also another one, picked last year as someone that kind of fell through the cracks a bit because of his injury, and has been a phenomenal power hitter. He actually was moved up, and so he's progressing nicely in his first year and has a 240, 361, 422 slash line with 7 homers on the year. And he was drafted last year in the first round for the Phillies. So there is some young talent that's on the rise. 5 in the top 100 compared to how the Phillies finished with 2 at the end of last season. So the future is bright for the Phillies. It's getting better, and there definitely are some great talented players in the pipes for this team in the future. Yeah, and Andrew Painter in some ways has just become this forgotten man.
I know.
We forget about how how excited and how hyped we were for Andrew Painter before his injury. He's going to come back, and he's still going to be incredibly young, and he's still has the potential to be, an ace for a franchise for a number of years at a very low cost on his rookie contract. So it's a good time to be a Phillies fan, and I think it's going to stay that way for a while.
I think so, and it can get even better if the Phillies are able to sweep the Dodgers tonight. So let's look ahead to tonight's game, because I didn't think we'd be sitting here, even myself, I will admit. I thought, I always go into every series expecting the Phillies to win, of course, but I was not expecting us to be looking at a sweep. I thought today might have been like the deciding game, especially after a 10-1 convincing win. I didn't know how the Dodgers were going to come out and respond, but here we are. Phillies looking to go in and get the sweep today. We are going to get the starts of Aaron Nola, who comes in a 3.48 ERA on the season. He's 10-4 with 107 strikeouts, going up against Landon Knack. Knack has a 1-2 record, a 2.86 ERA, and 31 strikeouts coming into today. Another great chance for Nola to come in, who has a 1.03 whip over 113 and 0.2 innings pitched this season. Nola's already passed the 100 inning pitched mark, which Mr. Durable always does. And he's allowed 3 earned runs or more in 4 of his last 5 starts. He has had a little bit of a shaky play down the stretch as of late, which is interesting because as our number 2, it feels like at times he looks like his numbers are worse than our 3 and 4, but that's how strong this pitching staff has been. And a great chance to go up against Knack, who has allowed 1 earned run or less in 4 of his last 5 starts. So Knack's been on a projection the other way a little bit. So should be a good matchup for them, as Knack has a 0.98 whip over 34.2 innings pitched this year. So significantly less innings pitched for Landon Knack compared to Aaron Nola. Obviously, that's a lot to do with the injuries of the Dodgers and them having to scramble with their pitching staff, whereas the Phillies, knock on wood, have only had the injuries of Taijuan Walker and Spencer Turnbull.
Yeah, Knack's a great young pitcher, it seems like, putting up some fantastic numbers so far. But he's going up against Aaron Nola, who, just continues to be a quiet horse in the rotation. It's funny that he's overshadowed so much this year by Suarez, Wheeler, Sanchez. I mean, these are not bad numbers for Aaron Nola. An ERA under 3.5. You mentioned the whip, Renee. That's hugely important for Nola, especially with his propensity to give up the home run ball. There's a big difference when he's not allowing runners on base and gives up some solo shots compared to when he runs into a little trouble. There's a couple runners on, and now all of a sudden it's 4-0 the other team. And so Nola continues to be one of the most sort of polarizing figures on the Phillies. He's been around so long. It seems like just about every game he comes out and you watch him the first 3 or 4 innings, he's shutting people down. You start to get the no hitter alert going in your head and the perfect game alert, and then all of a sudden like back-to-back home runs, and I was like, Nola. Yeah. But he's a great pitcher, and he puts up so many innings, helps preserve that fantastic bullpen. He's a guy who's, I think, been a little overlooked this season, and it's great that we're paying so much attention to these starters that made the All-Star team, or in Sanchez's case should have made the All-Star team. And Nola's dropped back a little bit. I don't even know if he'll be your number 2 guy in a postseason series at this point over Ranger. A problem for October.
That's a great.
And see what goes on, but at the moment, I mean,
it's tough because, as we know, like as of today on Thursday, as we're having this conversation, Ranger in his last 2 games, for the first time ever, had consecutive games of 5 or more runs given up, or 4 or more runs given up. And so he's been in a shaky part too. And as Jim was talking about with us yesterday, Jim Salisbury was mentioning, he's just showing us he's human. Yeah. Like we haven't seen a lot of blemishes from Ranger compared to Aaron Nola, who has had a bit more of an up and down. But as you mentioned, the up and down is really not that bad. Right. It's just when you look bigger picture for the Phillies with the success of their pitching staff, the fact that they have a 3.24 ERA as a pitching staff with a 1.14 whip, a 0.26 opponent batting average. That's their entire pitching staff success. Cristopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez are 3 and 4 would on other teams possibly be somebody's number 2, or for Ranger definitely be somebody's number 1.
They would be a good team in contention for the postseason, even with a terrible lineup.
Yeah,
just based on those pitching numbers alone, they would be in contention. And then now you toss in the lineup that features guys like Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Trey Turner, and the rest of them. That's how you get a championship quality team.
Yeah, and even the fact that offensively this team has scored at least 5 runs in 5 of their last 9 games. 2 of those games, of course, we know were the losses to the Braves, where they scored 0 and 1 runs, so 1 run. Overall, this team has been firing on all cylinders. You know, they've offensively, the production's been there. It's been Trey Turner that's been a big part of that as of late, but now feels like even Kyle Schwarber in his return is like, okay, let me help out too. Here's 3 RBIs in 2 games for you, Trey, to help out your 5 home runs in 7 games. It's like they continue to raise the bar and up each other. And the same goes for the pitching staff. So as you even mentioned, they're learning so much from each other. And they've I know Cristopher Sánchez has spoken about it. Aaron Nola has spoken about, like, different times they've spoken about how they learn from each other to be able to go deep into games, 6-7 innings, to be able to have, you know, such a strong ERA, to be able to go out there and have complete games pitched. I mean, everybody's pitched a complete game now. We're waiting on Zach. Yeah. But we've seen Ranger. Zach. Yeah, Zach, come on, pick it up. Ranger, Aaron, and Cristopher Sánchez all have complete games. It's just
in an era where that doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't happen, and the Phillies are getting it done.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's an embarrassment of riches on the pitching staff.
It really is. It really is. And speaking of Zach Wheeler, I do want to get into some injury updates because I know you guys are talking about Rafael Marchand in the chat. As we know, JT Realmuto is, as with the All-Star break coming up, getting closer to getting back himself. It is a shame because Rafael Marchand has been playing so well. And as I know you guys are mentioning in the chat, different people are talking through Jackie Moon and K-Red and various people. As a switch hitter, he gives you great at-bats, the amount of home runs he's hit, the amount of runs in general he's scored, and he's looked fantastic. And I think that we're going to have Rafael Marchand as a backup catcher if he can stay healthy, definitely for next season. I just feel like for this season with Garrett Stubbs, we talked about the options and everything else, the logistics of the behind the scenes. I don't know that they will make that move. I would like them to. I would love for them to. But Rafael Marchand probably is not going to be with the team the full season.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. So with when JT Realmuto comes back, and by the way, it's going to be amazing just after the All-Star break to finally see like sort of the opening day lineup like back intact and ready to make a push for the stretch run. That's going to be a lot of fun. But once Realmuto's back, there's not going to be a lot of playing time for the backup catcher. He plays more innings than any other catcher in the league. He's in the lineup just about every day. I don't know if for the sake of Marchand, who probably has earned it just based on his numbers against Stubbs' numbers. He's a switch hitter, which is super helpful. All of that said, I don't think, Stubbs is a beloved guy in that clubhouse. And, it's sort of like, people can joke about it and say, well, what really matters is what's on the field. And sure, but there is something to be said for that chemistry. And I just don't know if it's worth it to mess with that chemistry by taking Marchand as the backup catcher right now, mid-season, when everything's going so well, and send down one of the clubhouse favorites. I just don't know if it's worth it. Although Marchand has been doing fantastic, and it's part of a theme. I mean, Turner goes down and Sosa puts up Turner-ish numbers. Realmuto goes down and Marchand's putting up fantastic numbers. Stubbs stepped up some too. His numbers aren't where Marchand's is, but
he's been better.
He's been better since JT went down than he was beforehand. And I think that's really the story of the season so far, is guys getting hurt, other guys next man up. That might be your video yearbook title, because they just do it over and over. And you really thought JT might be the one that, like, okay, you're not really going to find somebody to replace that production at catcher.
Yeah.
And you're not getting Realmuto level of production, but you're getting some pretty good production out of your catchers right now. So it's great. I do think, Marchand, his time will come. And I get the sense it's not going to be this season.
Yeah, and we did see, it's actually a great point you bring up to play devil's advocate. Rafael Marchand, for those of you that are ready to move him in consistently, because I do agree he is a great player. He's shown well. His numbers at the majors are much better than his minor league numbers, but that's also because he's been very injury plagued. So I think it actually would be great to play devil's advocate to what you're saying about, well, I guess it's not devil's advocate, it's in addition to it. But devil's advocate to the other side of like, why not keep Marchand instead of Stubbs is knowing JT's going to come back. He's now had a number of weeks to rest, which he hasn't had in his career often. So to have him rested means he should be able to finish out the remainder of the season healthy, knock on wood, because he was picking up a lot of knocks. We saw a lot of hard hits, collisions, different things, wild pitches. So he should be good to go the rest of the season. You don't need, and you shouldn't need, hopefully, another catcher to play any meaningful amount of games. So let Stubbs be the CVO, the chief vibes officer. Let Marchand go back to, AAA, play a full season healthy, continue to play. Like, you want him to build off of what we've seen from him so far. Right. A full season of him healthy. Now, as you're getting into the offseason, we can start to have those difficult conversations, which aren't that difficult, in my opinion, about the future for the backup catcher. But I do think with the confidence he's brought, the way he's playing, let him continue to feed off of that versus him just sitting in the dugout and not playing. Let that be Stubbs. So I actually, that's a good point you bring up.
Yeah, and Linda in the chat makes this point. Marchand needs to play consistently at Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
Let him get those at-bats there. Spiral Out makes a good point. If getting rid of Stubbs ruins the clubhouse, how strong is it really? Okay, fair.
Super fair.
Super fair. I don't know if getting rid of Stubbs would ruin the clubhouse. I think there would still be a team of professionals in there.
Yeah, for sure.
These guys are, they're a very cohesive unit.
Yeah.
So they would probably be fine without Stubbs in that clubhouse. Somebody else can run the Spotify.
Yeah, somebody else can have the playlist.
All at the same time is just everything's going so well. The chemistry's good. The play on the field is good. Do you want to disrupt that? Is my
and there's
only
no
fear.
reason to, because as we all know, when JT comes back, he's playing every game. He might miss one or two here and there. Yeah. He's playing every game, so you don't need to shake it up that much for a backup catcher. Knowing you do have Marchand if needed to always be called up. So I do agree with you. Like, if this was any other position, totally different story. But as a catcher, knowing JT's durability and longevity and how many games he plays, again, knock on wood, I'm fine with you send Marchand down, get him more at bats, let him keep playing, let him have a full healthy season, and then let's have this conversation. David Dahl did clear waivers as well. He elected for free agency, so we know the Phillies DFA'd him on Monday to help clear space to activate Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber from the IL, and then Dahl cleared waivers Wednesday and elected for free agency. Rob did mention that he hopes that Dahl would agree to return to AAA Lehigh Valley if he cleared waivers, but he'll instead test the market. We also did get the injury updates, and I know you have those injury updates for us too as well, John, about Zach Wheeler and Johan Rojas, because seems, and Bryce as well, I should even say, seems encouraging.
Yeah. So the latest on those guys, Wheeler, left low back tightness, it was deemed by the Phillies. Wheeler revealed that this is something he's been dealing with for a couple weeks. Sort of off and on. He said there was a game a few weeks ago where he just sort of landed hard on the mound on a particular throw, and backs are tricky. I know
Especially
mine
as you get older.
As you get older, he's not a super young guy anymore. So they're gonna treat it with an abundance of caution, but it's not an arm issue. I think is a positive way to look at it. They'll manage it. They'll be careful. We'll see if he makes his last start before the All-Star break, or if they just want to give him a nice period of extended rest and then let him roll into the second half. Rojas, it really looked bad when he was first hit on that forearm. Did not look good, but the Phillies didn't even bother to send him for X-rays. So you get the impression he's fine. He was off in yesterday's game. That could have been the plan anyway, but it certainly didn't hurt to give him a day of rest. Bryce Harper, Thompson said in yesterday's post game that The swelling is down. The bruise is still there. This is his glove hand that we're talking about. Injured on a liner in the middle of the game the other day. The swelling is down. The bruising is still there. Thompson indicated that he was not available to pinch hit in yesterday's game, but today they're going to evaluate, sort of see where he's at with it. It was a last second call yesterday. He was taking swings in the cage and seeing if he would be able to go. They decided no. Again, I think this is all just out of an abundance of caution. Yeah. You've got a huge lead in the division, right?
Yeah.
You've got your eyes set on October. No reason to rush these guys right now. If there's any issue, Thompson, very protective of the health of his players. He's going to make sure that they're ready to go before he sends them back out there. So I don't think there's really any reason to be really concerned about any of these guys. Like anything, any injury is worth monitoring.
Yeah.
Again, especially Wheeler and a little bit of a back issue there. You want to hope he gets to 100%. But I think there's no reason to hit the panic button on any of these guys. It's just sort of some of your normal bumps and bruises that you run across over the course of a season.
Yeah, and I feel like if this were a postseason situation, they'd be fine to play.
Yeah,
they'd be able to go. And especially Bryce, hearing that he was able to swing in the cage, as you mentioned, the swelling's down. I think he probably would have been able to push through. It is a little bit more concerning with Zach. I know the MRI that they got on his lower back showed there was no structural damage, which is encouraging. So it is age and a bad back. We all know about that. That happens. Back tightness happens. So to be able to at least make sure to eliminate, it's not anything serious structurally. Lower back tightness with some stretching, some heat can go, a little stim can go a long way, and even some rest. But I know it seems like today we'll know. Yeah, get some painkillers. Today we'll still know. We'll see about Bryce Harper possibly playing today. It seem like it's gonna be another game time decision. I know you'll be down there, John. And then also for Zach, it still is up in the air whether or not he will get the scheduled start on Sunday against the A's. But it's the A's. We don't need to have him start against the A's, worst case scenario. As even with the All-Star break for both of them, like up in the air as to what's going to happen. So I love the caution. I think it's better to err on the side of caution. There's a lot of games left to play. And as mentioned, as we wrap up here with the Phillies at 60 wins with that 60-32 record on the season, they are 8.5 games ahead of the Braves. The next closest team across Major League Baseball in terms of wins is actually the Guardians and the Orioles with 57 wins. The Phillies are sitting in a really good spot, not only in the NL East, but in Major League Baseball, where they have really started to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. Again, the Guardians and the Orioles, the only two teams with 57 wins on the season. Everybody else has 56 or less. So the Phillies, again, tonight, we've got the chance to sweep the Los Angeles Dodgers with that 6:05 p.m. start. Aaron Nola versus Landon Knack. The Phillies, who after a 10-1 win and a 4-3 win over the Dodgers, have a chance to go out to a rockin' Citizens Bank Park and end this series the right way before taking on the A's this weekend. So, John, I know you'll be down there at the game tonight. Should be another good game, another hot one, but should be another hopefully good game for this Phillies-Dodgers series to wrap up.
Yeah, it should be great. Let's see them go out there and finish the job. 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, already fantastic. But just finish off that sweep, roll into an A series, our A's, bring them home. But struggling team. You got to figure they'll pick up a few more wins there, and and then enjoy the All-Star break because you've got a fantastic baseball team in the city of Philadelphia right now.
Oh, yeah. Time to get the sweep. All right. And then so for you guys, tomorrow we will be back for a post-game show. We are supposed to get some rain from the hurricane that's hitting. No big deal. Just a minor hurricane. No big deal. Yeah. So the Phillies will be taking on the A's starting tomorrow. That game is at 6:40 start for a weekend series against the A's before the All-Star break. We are expected to be live for a post-game show, top of the 9th. If there are any delays, we'll still be going live tomorrow night regardless. So be ready to tune in tomorrow night for a PHLY Phillies show live, whether it's post-game or just in the midst of a weather delay. We'll be bringing you some updates on the team. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Everybody in the chat, Spiral Out, K-Red, Ray from Philly, Linda, Lisa, Jackie Moon, all of our friends that are here today, Philly 007. We appreciate all of you. We'll be back Friday for another win, hopefully a post-game show. Hopefully it's another victory that we're talking about, another sweep, all the positive vibes. So for Brenna, John, myself, Renee, so long from PHLY Phillies Podcast. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.